Ravens flock, what's going on? I hope everybody's having a good week so far. So we all know who the real MVP is, but it seems as though the media and maybe even the people voting, they may have other ideas in mind when it comes to who they're gonna vote for, but it's yet to be seen. Either way, there's been a debate all over these different sports networks as well as amongst regular fans when it comes to the topic of who will be MVP this season. Now, we all know it should be Lamar, but many people in the media and even a lot of fans, they're really pulling hard to try to force this MVP onto Josh Allen. And it's just fascinating to watch. Now, Lamar doesn't care. We all know Lamar doesn't care. He's just trying to get to the Super Bowl. And the Ravens flock, they're kind of split. Like half of the Ravens flock also doesn't care because we all just want to get to the Super Bowl. But at the same time, many of the other half of the Ravens flock, they also feel as though he should get it Lamar should get it regardless, but because it's clear that, again, he is still the best player in football. Now, I can see both sides. Like, I'm split on the situation because if they give it to Josh Allen or Saquon Barkley, I'm not really going to care. It's not going to be the end of the world. But at the same time, it clearly should go to Lamar. And even though Lamar and the team is more focused on the bigger picture, I would still want to see Lamar get it because, number one, he deserves it. But also, number two, because there's nothing saying that we can't win a Super Bowl and get Lamar an MVP in the same year. There's no rules saying that we got to pick one or the other. We can get both. And I would like to see both happen. Especially with the amount of, we all have seen the amount of hate that someone like Lamar has drawn over the years just for being himself and, just existing. He's unintentionally become a pretty polarizing figure. And it's mostly for clicks, of course, because they know that if they talk crazy about Lamar, it'll just get more views. That's just how it goes, really. But Tony Romo had made a statement during a Bills game recently. I believe it was the Bills versus the Jets, where he was talking about the MVP conversation, and something he said actually kind of triggered me to want to do this video, because basically he said that they should give it to Lamar. They should give the MVP to Josh Allen because they've already given it to Lamar twice. And if basically he's almost making it sound like they should turn this into like a Make-A-Wish Foundation, at like some sort of Make-A-Wish Foundation award where they just give it to him almost because they feel bad for him, which, like, to me, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And another issue I had with what Tony Romo said was the fact that he said that if the roles were reversed, and if the roles were reversed and Josh Allen had 2 MVPs and Lamar Jackson hadn't had one yet, and Lamar was having Josh Allen season and Josh Allen was having Lamar season, he's saying that if the roles were reversed for all of this, Lamar would win it this year. And that's a lie. You and me and everybody knows that is a lie. If the roles were reversed, they weren't going to give Lamar an MVP out of pity. Y'all know they would not want to do that. They already don't want to give him these MVPs now, but he's so undeniable, they just keep having to do it. But y'all know they would not give Lamar an MVP out of pity. Y'all know that. If the roles were reversed, nobody would feel bad for Lamar, and they would just simply say, hey, listen, this other guy is the best in the league, and if he continues to be the best, we got to keep giving him MVPs. They need to keep that same logic for Lamar. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if Lamar's won it 2 times already. If he's still the best in the league again, and he's still playing better than ever, give it to him again. It is what it is. It doesn't matter if Bills fans get mad. It doesn't matter. Like, people are pulling really hard for Josh Allen, which, again, people have a right to like who they like, but some of the arguments people are making is just these tired arguments that I just don't get why they keep trying to push these flawed arguments. Like, they keep saying that, hey, Josh Allen had better stats last year and he didn't win, so they shouldn't give it to Lamar this year because Lamar has better stats. First of all, that is an intellectually dishonest statement. Josh Allen did not have better stats than Lamar last year. Whether Bills fans want to accept it or not, Josh Allen had 25 turnovers last year. That is why Josh Allen was not MVP. Well, that is the main reason why Josh Allen was not MVP. Josh Allen literally had 25 turnovers, 18 interceptions, which led the league, and 7 lost fumbles. Whereas on the flip side, Lamar only had 8 turnovers last year? And then on top of that, you also got to keep in mind, Lamar had a way harder Lamar played way harder competition than Josh did. The Ravens, we had either the hardest or the second hardest schedule all of last year. And on top of that, we were playing in arguably, not even arguably, we're playing in, outside of this year, we're playing in the best division in football, the most competitive division in football in the AFC North. And Lamar, against everybody last year, outshined everybody, including other MVP candidates like a Brock Purdy, like a Jared Goff, like a Tua Tagovailoa. That's why he won it. And then on top of that, when people say that Allen's stats are better than Lamar, that's simply not true. Lamar had a higher completion percentage, higher yards per pass, and a higher QBR. The only things that Allen had over Lamar was he threw for more yards, which again, Josh Allen threw the ball 122 more times. So it was really just a matter of Josh Allen he threw the ball more times. It's that simple. It was higher volume when it comes to how many times he threw. But as far as efficiency throwing the ball, Lamar was clearly better. And then on top of that, part of the reason Lamar didn't have a whole lot of touchdowns last year was because when we get to the goal line, we just hand the ball to our running backs. Did people forget Gus Edwards had 13 touchdowns last year? If Lamar wanted to do the tush push the way Josh Allen and if Lamar wanted to do the tush push the way Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts do it every game, Lamar could have easily had 40 touchdowns last year. But that's not the way he runs things, and that's not the way our team runs things. And I don't blame him. There's nothing wrong with letting your running backs eat. Speaking of running backs, many people are now also trying to discredit Lamar and say he doesn't deserve it because Derrick Henry is there and he's doing this and that. And obviously Derrick Henry's having a great season, but trying to use that as a way to discredit Lamar's MVP case to me doesn't make much sense. Even though Derrick Henry being here helps Lamar and takes a load off of Lamar, it also helps Derrick Henry way more to play with a guy like Lamar Jackson. Now, even though Derrick Henry has played with mobile or semi-mobile guys before, like Malik Willis or Ryan Tannehill or Marcus Mariota, he's never played with a guy like Lamar Jackson, who is by far the greatest dual-threat quarterback of all time. So great to where whenever opposing defenses are playing us, they choose to run straight for Lamar instead of focusing on Derrick Henry, which causes Derrick Henry to have these wide open holes to run through. Derrick Henry has almost 600 yards of rushing before contact this year, which is the most in the NFL and the most in his career. And that's not because our offensive line is amazing and just making it so easy for him. We know we have some of the worst guards in football. He's having these big holes to run through because these defensive players are so focused on stopping Lamar Jackson. They're so focused on that they either just make a bull rush straight for Lamar, or they hesitate and freeze because they don't know who got the ball, and they're so worried about Lamar that they kind of lean towards Lamar. And again, it makes it too easy for Derrick Henry. And they're also trying to say that Lamar has all these weapons, so he shouldn't get the MVP. And again, these very flawed arguments. Now, to the credit of our team, our players have gotten better in Todd Monken's offense and have evolved. Zay Flowers, he's in his second season. He's balling. He has over 1,000 yards. Rashad Bateman, he's healthy for the first time. He's been balling. He has 600 or 700 yards and 9 or 10 touchdowns. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely are playing amazing. But it's not like we have a Hall of Fame roster necessarily. That's not really the case. They're talking as if Lamar has like the roster that Kurt Warner had on the Rams back in '99. Like, this is like trying to use weapons against any quarterback, especially one like Lamar, who we've already seen that when he doesn't have weapons, he could still be an MVP. I just think it doesn't make much sense, especially when you're talking about someone like Lamar specifically, who we've seen ball out without any weapons. And on top of that, like, these same people, they won't use this logic when it comes to Joe Burrow. Now that the Bengals have a chance to squeeze into the playoffs, they're trying to argue that Joe Burrow should be MVP over everybody. And it's like, well, y'all aren't using the fact that he's playing with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Y'all aren't using that against him. You know, as much as we all like Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman and everybody, they're not touching Jamar Chase, man. I'm sorry, man. Like, that's just the reality. They're not touching him, man. And that's a major weapon to have. And nobody's using that against Burrow. So why would you use the fact that Lamar's supporting cast is better this year? Why would you use that against him? I just don't think that makes much sense. Now, this year, it's starting to feel like Lamar is he's in a place similar to Nikola Jokic, where, and we all, if you paid attention to basketball, you've seen this, where he's in a row. He was clearly the best player in the league multiple years in a row, but when it was time for him to get what should have been his third MVP, they hesitated. They held his playoff history against him, and then they used this silly logic to give the award to Joel Embiid instead. And it made the award look even sillier because, if I'm not mistaken, that same year or the next year, like right after, Jokic got a title. And, you know, arguments like that, it just looks silly in hindsight. And that goes to the last point, which is a lot of people, they're also trying to use Lamar's playoff history against him and say, well, he hasn't won anything in the playoffs, so this and that. But at the end of the day, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have both only reached the AFC Championship game. So trying to hold that against Lamar, it doesn't make sense, especially when the MVP is a regular season award. It's not a playoff award. But we'll see in a couple weeks how things unfold. Of course, I would prefer a Super Bowl more than anything. I'm sure many of you listen to this would prefer a Super Bowl more than anything. We'll see how things go. Let me know in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on the situation? And also let me know, do you think that Lamar is going to get the Nikola Jokic treatment where they rob him of his third MVP and instead give it to Joel Embiid, or in this case, Josh Allen? Or do you think that somehow Lamar will still end up winning the MVP?